Hey guys, welcome to Solo ReacTalk. Today I'm going to be reacting to the SCP Foundation. Hold on, let me just get to the video title here. It's SCP-2137, Forensic Ghost of Tupac Shakur Thaumiel Object Class Musical SCP, made on the Volgun YouTube channel, and it was a request from Obi-Wan2247. Yes. If you guys want to check out my previous reaction to other SCP Foundation videos, remember that the playlist card is going to be at the top right here. Just click on it and be able to access them. If you want to check out the original video as well as the Volgun's YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. Sorry guys, I'm being distracted by these incoming notifications. But yes, let us start with the SCP-2137 Forensic Ghost of Tupac Shakur Thaumiel Object Class Musical SCP. Interesting. 3, 2, 1, go.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller.
Hey, Dr. Miller. Tupac. Me against the world. Okay.
And the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-2137. Object Class: Thaumiel, previously Euclid and Keter.
How did it go from Euclid to Keter, then to Thaumiel? What happened?
Special containment procedures. When not being used, SCP-2137 is to be kept within a typical electronic 10-digit metal safe in the safe wing of Site-23. All digital and wireless broadcast media must be kept at least 100 meters away from SCP-2137. Due to SCP-2137's anomalous effect having been determined to have no ranged limit, digital, wireless, and broadcast media may be used, but should be monitored closely for any appearance of SCP-2137-1 or 2.
So SCP-2137-1 or 2 is able to transmit itself or, send itself into other electronic devices. Okay, wow. Is it some sort of AI?
Other than testing and recording of Track 7, SCP-2137 should be considered an inanimate item without agency of its own, and any demands or threats made by SCP-2137-2 should be ignored.
So SCP-2137 is an object, but then SCP-2137-2 is like a sentient construct. Alright. What about SCP-2137-1?
Once a week, SCP-2137 is to be cleaned, and all tracks are to be played in succession with special attention paid to the instance of SCP-2137-1 that replaces Track 7. The names, situations, and anecdotes presented in that instance of SCP-2137-1 must then be reported to 2137 Special Committee, POC.
Okay. SCP-2137-1 replaces Track 7, and any information that comes from this SCP-2137-1 is to be given to a committee called POC. Tupac POC. Okay. That's cute.
On the rare occasion that non-Foundation organizations cannot address the situation presented in an instance of SCP-2137-1, 059 has given authorization to activate Mobile Task Force 33-9 to take any and all measures necessary to reach a resolution to the problem.
So, this information coming from SCP-2137-1 is very important. to the point where the SCP Foundation is actually sending in special forces or a task force. Mobile what? Mobile. Okay, here it is. 339. Okay. Mobile Task Force 339. Oh, okay. Wow.
Operational success will be indicated by a new instance of 2137-1. Personnel who wish to examine or attempt to interact with SCP-2137 must ask Dr. Kiewicz for authorization beforehand, which will then pend O5 clearance.
And when you interact with SCP-2137, you're not really interacting with this object that is holding SCP-2137-1 or 2. You have to somehow communicate with 1 or 2 and not with the object SCP-2137. Okay, how do you communicate with this entity?
Description: SCP-2137 is a single compact disc copy of Me Against the World.
A disc. Okay. So that's the object that holds SCP-2137-1 and 2. Okay.
Hip-hop album by the artist Tupac Shakur, released in 1995. Physical examination, as well as laser testing, indicates that the CD was one of the initial release, manufactured and distributed in 1995. Conventional testing of the disc itself reveals identical results to a non-anomalous copy of the album. The case and liner notes have been determined to have no anomalous qualities, and the physical makeup and encoding of the disc appear completely normal. However, upon playing track 7, normally heavy in the game, the listener will encounter an instance of SCP-2137-1. The anomaly takes the form of spontaneously generated, professionally produced songs featuring Tupac Shakur in various styles within the hip-hop genre. Though each instance of SCP-2137-1 generated is unique, they share certain commonalities in terms of subject matter. The central focus of the song invariably addresses a crime, almost always a murder or series of murders, and then gives necessary anecdotal evidence or information to correctly identify and prosecute the killer, even going so far as to specify prosecutors or recommend vigilante justice.
Recommend vigilante justice? Okay. I don't know. That's a bit concerning to me that this device or this object is able to advise you on a criminal case and give you information on a criminal case, and then it's also giving you possible solutions to the problem, and one of them is to become a vigilante. I don't know. This would conflict with the criminal justice procedure of any particular nation, in terms of how the police are going to operate, how the prosecution is going to operate, and how the judicial system is going to operate. When this object has all of this information, I don't know where does it get it from, but somehow you're going to have to prove that you have this information without saying that it comes from SCP-2137-1 or 2. I don't know how would you obtain all necessary information? How would you prove it in a court of law? I'm not entirely sure about that, but if it's working, then maybe there's something there. But I just think that anyone that forgoes their responsibility or their agency and listens to the suggestions of this SCP, you're putting yourself at risk. The moment you start depending on it for all the answers, you're putting yourself at risk. You're putting the entire justice system at risk. Yeah, I don't know. It sounds too good to be true. It sounds too good to be true.
Though generation of SCP-2137-1 has been determined to have a definite causal nature, the manner in which SCP-2137-1 instances are copied onto SCP-2137 has yet to be ascertained. SCP-2137-2. The primary voice on the songs, from herein identified as SCP-2137-2, matches cleanly through advanced audio analysis to that of the real Tupac Shakur, who died in 1996, over a year before the recovery of SCP-2137.
So what, are you telling us that his spirit has transported into this disk? Something to that effect? Huh.
However, occasionally, on crimes of a particularly complicated or brutal nature, SCP-2137-2 will be joined by other performers, either guest rapping or singing the chorus or bridge. This has included many of Tupac's contemporaries, such as Snoop Doggy Dogg, Nas, No Doubt, Everclear, Weezer, and Busta Rhymes, as well as artists from the 2000s, including Chris Brown, Katy Perry, Lil Wayne, Lady Gaga, Rihanna, the Yin Yang Twins, Drake, Neon Trees, Jet, Jay-Z, Kanye West, and Eminem.
Majority of these people are not dead, so their spirits are not in this disk. So somehow this entity, SCP-2137-2, is able to produce their voices on this disk or on this track that's going to be playing. Somehow it's able to produce those voices of those artists, and it's able to relay the information of SCP-2137-1 through those voices. Huh. What an interesting SCP this is. I'm still a bit skeptical of its powers, because, you know, like with artificial intelligence, I don't want humanity to lose itself into thinking and believing that, you know, their technology has all the answers. That the human mind, our own physical bodies, don't have any purpose anymore. That we can just rely on our technology to do everything for us. And this is something similar here with this SCP. That we are depending so much on it appears. And, you know, it's giving us answers to criminal cases. It's giving us, you know, who should be going to into the investigating part of this case, or who must be the prosecutor of this case, who must be the judges for this case, who must be part of the jury system for this case. It's a bit too much. It's a bit too much. Yeah. I don't know, guys.
Usually at the height of their popularity. On a few notable occasions involving long unsolved crimes by still active criminals, there have been guests of a more blatantly anachronistic nature, standouts among whom include Phil Harris, the Andrews Sisters, Frank Sinatra, Buddy Holly, The Who, Elvis Presley, Diana Ross, and the Beatles. Heavily anachronistic guests tend to take the role of primary artist, the song performed in their style, with SCP-2137-2 joining as a rap guest. When contacted, none of these artists had any recollection of recording for or information regarding SCP-2137. The crimes themselves share that they are unsolved, or in some cases have escaped detection entirely. The majority of instances of SCP-2137-1 address crimes of private citizens such as serial killers, spree murderers, or career criminals, though occasionally the songs will address larger groups such as Hamas, ISIS, the IRA, and even in two separate instances, the Chaos Insurgency and the Church of the Broken God.
Interesting. Private cases, larger organizations, but I'm not hearing about states in the world, you know. States that also propagate wars in other countries. States that also fund and transport military equipment to other nations for them to continue their campaign of attacking other innocent civilians in other territories. I'm not hearing that part. Yes, private investigations of, particular people who have suffered through criminal violence against them or against their family members is also important. Crimes that are committed by terrorist organizations is also important. However, you cannot overstep the crimes committed by countries. Who are those people responsible for championing governments to fund other governments' war against other people? That's also important. So this entity, SCP-2137, it has its preferences. It doesn't give you all the information pertaining to criminal actions. Because now I'm delving into international criminal law here. I'm not just dealing with local crimes. I'm not just dealing with regional crimes when you think about terrorist organizations. I'm now talking about nation states that are also committing crimes. Why doesn't SCP-2137 also focus on that? No. I did say that I have an issue with this SCP. It's starting to show its head right here in front of me. This selective choice on what type of crimes it's going to be performing on on track 7, SCP-2137-1, is concerning now. Because if it focuses on crimes, it should be focusing on all crimes. Doesn't matter from the lowest point or to the highest echelons of power. It should be focusing on all crimes. Anyways.
A prototypical example of SCP-2137-1 is included here for reference. This is an excerpt from SCP-2137-1, log 542.
Now I gotta be doing detective work. After all this time, huh? Jeffrey Gertz still stalking at night. Killed his brother and some strangers with the same damn knife. Right. It's not in my plans to tell you what to do. I know what I would do if I was you. If I was you, he hit the blade.
You say it's not your plans to tell him what to do, but now you're saying, if I was in your shoes, I know what I would do. Okay.
In the barn off North 111, he already killed 6. Don't make it 7. Don't make it 7. Be careful and play it smart.
When the crimes have been addressed and the guilty parties brought to light, either by the legal system or otherwise, SCP-2137-1 is immediately replaced by a new instance. However, the track is easily recorded through conventional means. Recorded versions are not subject to change or replacement, and the original can be replayed from the CD endlessly before the killer is found with no or little variation. There are currently nearly 1,000 instances of SCP-2137-1 on record. Initial recovery log. SCP-2137 was recovered in the home of Avon Lincoln, arrested for the vigilante slaying of Michael Ferris, who was later revealed to have been the Ojai Strangler responsible for 6 murders over the summer of 1996. Avon's insistence that Tupac Shakur spoke to him from beyond the grave and told him he had to take justice into his own hands because Ferris's position as district attorney would prevent a fair trial drew the attention of Foundation agents after the song in question was produced as evidence in court.
Now imagine, you're producing this as evidence in court in front of a judge or a judicial officer, or you are presenting this information before a jury, because in America they use a jury system, and you're telling them that you heard the voice of Tupac telling you that you gotta commit a vigilante killing of this particular person because the justice system won't be able to prosecute him, and he won't be sent to jail because he's so important. That's madness. That's madness. No one is going to believe you. Now, this person is lucky that the SCP Foundation is here. They've taken note of this object, SCP-2137. But if this organization was not here, and you to present this information in a court of law, they would just set it aside and see you as a killer, because that's what you are. Because you've decided to listen to the words of this disc. Take it upon yourself that you are going to be the judge and the executioner of this particular person. And that there's no way around that. There's no way around that. No, this SCP, yes, it sounds good. It sounds amazing what it can do. But clearly, it does not care for the lives it's going to ruin. Yes, I understand capturing or potentially killing this perpetrator who has committed heinous crimes. I understand that. But let that be done by the powers that be, those that we have given responsibility to protect society, not a private person, not someone, who is going through so much pain and suffering after losing their loved ones to this serial killer. Because they will definitely take the chance for a vigilante attack against that person. And who's to say that this person is going to have, a better life after what he or she has done? They might be sent to prison. They might never be able to heal from what they have done by killing this person. I understand the notion of wanting revenge, or finding your own version of justice. But it is a double-edged sword. When you cut your enemy, it will cut you too. Yeah. This SCP is very powerful. I don't know how does it obtain all of this information, but for us to depend on it for any sort of criminal cases, I don't know. I have concern over that. I really do have concern over that. Because now we are going to believe every single word this thing says. If it's the SCP who's using it, or if it's someone, privately in possession of it, they will believe every single word that this SCP-2137-2 is saying. And that is wrong. Maybe I'm mistaken about that. I don't know. But I just don't feel right about this SCP. It's good. It's too good to be true.
Amnestics were administered to all involved, and Lincoln was released back into the general population. Addendum 1A, the XK incident. Initially, researchers experimented with anonymously tipping off local police departments through Foundation plants, which led to the resolution of over cold cases, including the recovery of SCP, and SCP-617, though no direct link has been established other than the murders involved. However, after 10 years, this use of the SCP was deemed impractical. Repeatedly addressing the crimes discussed in 2137's music was, in practice, allowing the SCP to dictate the circumstances of its containment, and under the wrong circumstances, opened the Foundation to potential exposure through continuous interaction with law enforcement at all levels across multiple governments. In response to this, 059 ceased addressing the crimes in late 2000. After 2 months passed, SCP-2137's behavior radically changed when, for the first time, an instance of SCP-2137-1 was produced that revealed SCP-2137-2 had an awareness of its containment. This is an excerpt from SCP-2137-1, Log 851.
Yeah. It's all about that thug life. West side. Best side. You already know. You said you all about security, but you not good guys. You redact and expunge, man, your silence is lies. You said you here to protect, but the killers weren't free. Don't let me show you how rough this outlaw can be. You couldn't stop the beast, so don't you start that struggle. You better watch your tone, unless you looking for trouble. Man, you need to fall back and let me do my duty. Locked in the drawer, feeling like you trying to screw me. You try to step up on my legacy. You don't believe that I'm Tupac, I'm not just a CD.
The decision was made to halt testing entirely rather than acquiesce. After 1 week passed, an instance of SCP-2137-1 appeared spontaneously on the YouTube channel of Los Angeles-based hip-hop station, and
What the hell? Now, how did it do that? How is it able to transfer itself into the internet and go directly into the application of YouTube? Wow. Definitely you are a Kitter class. You're a Kitter class. You're not an Iqlud class. You're a Kitter class. Because the type of information this object has in its possession, the type of information that involves the SCP Foundation, that involves various types of criminal cases that it has knowledge on. It has the ability to turn this world upside down.
in the lone hour before it was taken down, accrued over views. XK Scenario Incident. The image displayed on the video was a still photograph, apparently authentic, though its nature is highly anomalous. The photograph is of Shakur, estimated to be in his early 40s. It would be wise to note, at the time of his murder in 1996, Shakur was 25 years old, wearing the garb of Foundation D-Class personnel with his middle fingers raised. The accompanying song, titled focused on SCP, revealing its actual location and means by which it could be broken free of current containment procedures, and identified several members of the O5 Council by their first names as
this SCP is dangerous. But can I say that the good that it's able to do outweighs the bad? Yes. The good that this SCP is able to do still outweighs the bad. Yeah, it's just tricky.
It described the function and nature of the Foundation. In a massive sweeping operation involving activation of multiple task forces across continents, all trace of the video was erased and all viewers were administered Class A amnestics. Midway through this operation, an entire album titled XK Scenario was released to the iTunes account of Beyonce Knowles. Each song featured SCP-2137-2 as well as a variety of guest artists, and focused on a different Keter-class SCP currently in captivity. Though SCP tracking bots were able to bring XK Scenario down only after downloads, complete digital eradication of the individual files has proven difficult. Though no loss of life or property was incurred, the sheer scale of the danger posed by this containment breach prompted a Foundation-wide state of high alert. This prompted an ongoing upgrade to all automatic SCP firewalls and engendered the reclassification of SCP-2137 from Euclid to Keter. The breach sparked heated debate as to how to proceed with the containment of and conceptual understanding regarding SCP-2137.
I don't know if there's any way that you can really contain it. I think maybe the only way to stop it is by destroying SCP-2137, the disk. I don't think there's any other way you can contain it. The fact that it can jump to our electronical devices like a cell phone or some sort of music player and it can go all the way into the internet, and it can make copies of itself, and it can enter into applications like YouTube. I just don't see how you can stop that. Yeah. Maybe if you dig deep underground, make sure there's no electronic devices underground, no wiring of any sort of internet fiber cable or anything of the sort, just deep underground, in complete radio silence, material that absorbs the radio waves or absorbs radio signals, so that it's not able to broadcast itself out of its in confinement. Then maybe it's possible to contain it in that sort of fashion, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm just waffling here.
Which came to an end upon the appearance of a new instance of SCP-2137-1. This instance was produced spontaneously through the mouth of SCP, which appeared to fall into a trance state during the incident, with the lyrics in totality repeatedly written in what was identified as 117,000 times all over the interior of its containment chamber. This is an excerpt from SCP-2137-1, Log 564.
Here I am. Y'all must have lost your goddamn mind. You motherfuckers can't see me. I'm everywhere. Thug life. Help me find my killers and not find yours. Try not to play the CD, you starting to war. You don't really wanna see me in flesh. I wouldn't hesitate to put your little nerves to rest. So feel my power. What if I told you that the plan did off? What if the world knew the was bound to fall? Don't try to blame me cause you need me inside. You was the reason had died. I would never let up. What's set up? Tell to keep his head up, 19 and not what it seems. I'm everywhere and I can't be touched. And if you think about a plan, I'ma fuck shit up. You try to hide it, but I see it all. Now I'm coming for your head like I'm Tylenol. You don't wanna fall.
Man, this is not a veiled threat. This is open and out. It's a threat. And there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. Wow.
Dressed in black like you can't be seen. I ride alone, I don't need no team. Yeah, so do your job cause I'm giving you tips and put that whole CD in the mix. Biatch.
The decision was made to resume the former method of testing involving the embedded informants used to relay SCP-2137's evidence and information, while continuing to study the method in which SCP-2137 transmits its broadcasts in an effort to truly contain it completely. SCP-2137-2 resumed its previous behavioral pattern, SCP-2137-1's focusing on crimes until their killers are located by conventional law enforcement, with the
everything's back to normal, I guess.
exception of one final track. At this time, its last recorded direct interaction with the Foundation. This is an excerpt from SCP-2137-1, Log 565.
See? I knew y'all get me. Listen. Y'all cannot afford to lose. And y'all will lose going against me. So it's only right. It's only right. But now that we on the same page.
Yeah, we're on the same page because you put a gun right at our face.
This what I got for y'all. I guess it took time for it to sink in. I'm just glad you understood what I was thinking. I just knew you come around, so you see it now. And ain't no need to get upset or even throw down. You know I got the crown. I see it's hard to get some sleep at night. You got a head full of grapes and your skin ain't tight. So let's be real and ain't no need to fight it. There's a grander design, I bet you gonna like it. It's black and white, so don't get caught up in the deep thoughts. You got my music on the side with a greater force. You got my music on the side with a greater force.
Investigation into any kind of link or pattern between the crimes SCP-2137 solves is ongoing, as is interest to why it doesn't use its agency to pursue the criminals in question rather than working through proxies.
Memory.
How can it pursue the criminals though? Because it is just an entity that lives inside this SCP-2137. It doesn't have its own physical presence. So I don't know how would it be able to pursue, these perpetrators of these criminal actions.
Random. Email from Site 515, Director Dr. Gwen Pristine, 205 Council, regarding Tupac. This will be the 5th time I have written to propose an update to SCP-2371. When they enter our program here at Site 515, researchers, engineers, MTF troops, and even D-Class all walk in the door having read the official documentation, and believe the Foundation has been essentially blackmailed into cooperation with the devious SCP. But everyone who actually works here knows this is no longer the case. In the nearly 3 decades
No longer the case. Okay.
since containment, the Foundation's collaboration with SCP-2137 has led to recovery of dozens of SCPs. Our mobile task forces have deposed dictators and toppled tyrants, chased down rogue reality benders from 3 Portlands to Lamplight.
You've toppled the dictators and tyrants. But then again, I still say it is very selective in how it chooses who should be arrested, who should be taken down. Very selective here. Remember when I discussed about states? Now, yes, I get it. Taking down dictators and toppling, undemocratic countries. It's what we see across the world with the major powers that be on planet Earth. However, Tupac, or should I say SCP-2137, 2, for some reason does not see anything wrong when nations are going against international law. They are going against any form of, how should I say, any sort of relationship that other nations have with global bodies like the United Nations. There are some countries that willingly send multi-billion-dollar weaponry systems to other countries for them to use in their defense. And they use those weapons to kill, to destroy other nations or other people. Is that not a crime? Knowing fully well what these weapons can do, knowing fully well what these weapons are intended for, where proxy nations of these powerful nations support them militarily, financially, to prop up their governments. And in those governments, those proxy governments, they commit actions, they commit atrocities in the name of their own safety and peace. Is that not a crime? I don't hear anything about that. I don't hear about democratically elected governments that are going to be investigated by SCP-2137, where they find the individual members of the governments that are pushing for actions like this, where their governments send weapons to these proxy nations. Is that not a crime? Or do we only focus on terrorist organizations? Do we only focus on those who are dictators and despots? Because there's different levels to criminality here. It's not just someone who shoots at someone, okay, that guy is a criminal. No. There's other version of criminalities out there. The decisions made by men and women in powerful positions lead down to the path of people on the ground being killed? And who takes responsibility for that? So this SCP still, it is having a firm grip and control over the SCP Foundation. They can't contain it. They can't destroy it, apparently. And it is dictating to us what should be investigated, what should be done in terms of who must be arrested, and what type of governments should be allowed to prosper, while other governments that are seen to be despots or led by dictatorships should be eliminated. And who makes that determination? Whose interests are you serving when you tell SCP Foundation that this particular despot, or should I say this particular dictator, needs to be taken out because of those reasons? Whose interests are you serving? Now, guys, maybe I'm delving too deeply into thought about this SCP, but like I said before, it sounds too good to be true. And now we are clearly being shown here that it has, a firm grip on the SCP Foundation by the throat. Any moment where the SCP Foundation decides that they're not going to be taking any more suggestions from this SCP-2137, it commences its own actions against the Foundation. It becomes a threat almost immediately as it spreads information on the internet. And if we don't do what it says, we are all under threat in terms of the SCP Foundation in particular, I should say. I don't know.
This, of course, all adjacent to the arrest or end of nearly 30,000 murderers. To add some perspective here, a serial killer hasn't made it past their third victim anywhere on Earth in 14 years. SCP-2137 has produced over 40,000 unique pieces of music. Function at Site-515 has become effectively frictionless. First it was just the Suge Knights, but as we became more effective at addressing
Sugar Knights?
SCP-2137's instruction, another MTF joined, then an elite division. Which brings us up to the present, where the 5 mobile task forces under my command are in constant action against forces all over the planet Earth and beyond, all under the guidance of detailed strategy provided by the mysterious music from a compact disc that the Foundation has failed to adequately contain. A silent, undocumented understanding has grown among us. The SCP does not simply catch murderers. It directly and aggressively searches out anything that maliciously takes a human life. The amount of lives saved and untold disasters that have been prevented through the information 2137 supplies are at this point stupefying to contemplate, much less that it has been able to essentially bully us into a pattern of unilaterally heroic expenditures of Foundation resources. It's little wonder that we show the highest numbers globally in Foundation morale test. It makes sense, of course. Here at Site-515, the SCP Foundation is a fast-action team of gunslinging heroes, smashing cults, blowing away terrorists, and catching murderers and monsters in our spare time as we blast rap music out of a landing attack hovercraft, or working behind the scenes, turning local cops into super sleuths and vigilantes into heroes. But this period, as productive as it's been, has been intellectually stagnant. Throughout all of this, the motives and origin of 2137 remain a mystery, defying every search for a pattern, every algorithm-driven analysis. The research wing of the site has become a ghost town, as the MTF response barracks have grown to dominate everything, and perhaps rightfully so. But a few young researchers have diligently continued to hunt for meaning, for greater truth behind SCP-21371. An unexpected advance in this area is behind the urgency in my message to you today. It had long been understood that the life of the actual Tupac Shakur held little information or relevance toward the mystery of SCP-2137's existence. This has potentially changed. Researcher Mariha Kozlovich recently came across an unreleased interview with Shakur from 1994, 2 years before his death and 3 before the discovery of SCP-2137. The interview was buried by his managers because there was anxiety about Shakur's mental state in the footage. because he was speaking what they called nonsense. I think you will agree that while Mr. Shakur may not have been speaking clearly, what he actually says is very possibly of vital interest to the Foundation, and very definitely not nonsense. I feel we may finally have, if not an answer, the beginnings of one. But I can say with certainty that in my entire time at the Foundation, I have never personally felt this excited. So I start my proposal here. A Keter-level object actively interested in aiding the human race is not a Keter-level object at all. I am officially resubmitting my proposal for SCP-2137 to at long last be redesignated a Thaumiel-class object, and for a quadrupling of our research team and a site resource allocation. We must tug this thread and see where it leads us. Perhaps after hearing the audio attached, you will finally agree. Dr. Gwen Pristine, Site Director, 515.
Document. Recovered footage 1L. Tupac Shakur, dressed casually, sits on a large red couch, smoking a marijuana cigarette, hunched forward and visibly intoxicated, with drooping eyes and slightly slurred speech. He seems happy and jovial and laughs often through the interview despite repeatedly becoming distracted by the presence of his entourage dancing and talking in the room. His director and videographer Gobi Rahimi sits nearby, and VH1 interviewer Mila Vendi, also visibly intoxicated, sits nearby. The relevant portion begins 9 minutes and 14 seconds into the interview.
People ask me where I get my inspiration from. They say, how do you go so hard and put in that much work? But what they don't understand is this is me taking a break. This is me on vacation. I think some people will say that was irresponsible, to just sit back, be human for a while, be an artist, experience that. I can't be chasing the king all the time. I feel like I've been doing that forever to protect you, all of you. He's not so big, and you're not so small. But he's gotta trick you like it doesn't matter, because that's the only way that he can keep it looking like he's the man. Like he's some big bad evil motherfucker. You don't see that when I die, I'll live on. My death is my destiny. And then I become something else. What I was before. The voice will still shout, and it'll shout justice, and poetry, and art, and music. I got you. I got you, humanity. When I eventually go toe-to-toe and brawl with this fool, he's gonna gather up his little red dress and go home crying like a bitch, and he knows it. Evil knows his days are numbered. So the king is still running. The chase isn't over. Prepare. Prepare.
Okay. We must prepare.
Prepare.
You know, working for a foundation such as this, it's kind of heartwarming to see that not every anomalous entity out there is malevolent. For once, a Thaumiel-class object that can't be contained is kind of a good thing. Maybe most people disagree with me.
Yeah, I'm one of them. I'm one of them. If it cannot be contained, it is still a threat, even, no matter how benevolent it may seem to us, you know, in its actions and what it does. The fact that it can decide on itself just to threaten us like this, or should I say threaten the SCP Foundation, its secrecy. If it doesn't get its way, that's a threat. No matter how you want to cut it or dice it or see it in a different path or to see the advantages of this SCP, it's still a threat. The fact that we cannot control it.
Who knows? Anyway, I think that about does it for today. Thank you all for listening, if indeed you still are, and you are all dismissed. Goodbye. I would like to give a special thank you to It's Not a Spoon, Corey Barker, Arbiter Soul, Ritalius, Kareem El Ashmoy, 7 Past Midnight, Matthew Gilmore, Thanama Takik, Eric Corbidge, Kawaii Firekeeper, Joker Corvus, King Madding, Bryson, Samurai Corgis, James Saba, NJ Vujak, and Justin Day. If you would like a special thank you at the end of each of my videos, and some other cool stuff as well, visit patreon.com/thevolgun. Thank you.
Yeah, guys, that is it with the SCP-2137 Forensic Ghost of Tupac Shakur Thaumiel Object Class Musical SCP made on the Volgun YouTube channel and requested by Obi-Wan2247. Yes, the SCP-2137 is too good to be true. It's amazing. What it can do, it truly is amazing. But we cannot control it. And that is a threat. No matter how good it may seem in its abilities, the fact that we cannot control this entity or this object, it is a threat. We cannot have a tool or a weapon that would turn against us at any moment or whenever it decides that it is under threat. That's not how things are supposed to be done, especially with tools. I am all for protecting humanity. I am all for SCPs that protect humanity. But there is one clear distinction that we must have asserted, that if this entity or this object cannot be controlled by us, then it is a threat to us. That's how I see it. And when it comes to the types of criminal cases that it focuses on, where I was discussing about individual states and, countries, just so that you understand. When it comes to countries, if you think a democracy, a constitutional democracy, cannot commit crimes against humanity, or it cannot commit crimes in terms of supporting, despots or supporting dictatorships or other democracies that commit crimes against humanity, then you're living in La La Land. Because that is one of the most important things I was expecting to hear from this SCP. Yes, it's focusing on crimes in terms of, private investigations of people, individual people who have suffered through criminal action against them or their family members. I get that part as well. But now, when it comes to the fact that this SCP focuses on terrorists and, despots or dictatorships, what I find interesting is that I don't hear it focusing on countries that are supposedly leading the free world and that are having democracies, and those countries are not also being targeted by this SCP-2137. That the SCP Foundation is not arresting important officials in those governments, those who are pushing for continued war in different parts of the world, because they are criminals as well. Those who are funding these nations in those other regions of the world, those who are giving military equipment to those countries in other regions of the world, and that is going completely against the United Nations or any other regional body, is that person not a criminal? Can that person not also be charged? Or are we only going to be targeting terrorists? Are we only going to be targeting dictators? Because, with them it's easy to see what they're doing. But when it comes to, people who belong to powerful nations, people who belong to democracies, it's not that easy to see what they're doing or how they're doing it. And thus, those crimes are not really focused on. Because in the eyes of this SCP, it's not a criminal action. That's why I'm saying this SCP is very selective in the way it conducts its choosing of what is a criminal action and what is not. And I find that as a threat as well. I also stated that the fact that we are depending so much on this SCP is going to become a threat for our own, safety and security as humanity. We should not be depending on objects like this in their totality. We should not be believing every single thing it says, especially because it is sentient. It can think for itself. It can do things for itself. If it believes it's under threat, it will manipulate us to suit its needs. Yes, right now it seems like it's serving humanity, but who's to say that it's going to continue that way for the next 100 years, 200 years, 300 years? We don't know what happens in the future. The point of the matter is that we cannot control it, and that is a threat. At least if we could control it, it's a safeguard measure should anything happen. And that's what I worry about. Yes, this SCP is amazing, but it's also as equally dangerous to the SCP Foundation and, just to the way humanity progresses into the future. I don't know. In terms of criminal matters, I would seriously rather it be controlled or, delved into by human beings. Yes, there will be faults. Yes, there will be mistakes being made. Yes, criminal cases might not be solved, but I don't know. I just feel that we're giving too much agency to this entity to solve our problems. Yeah. It's an amazing SCP. I'm paranoid, maybe. I'm very paranoid. Alright, okay guys, that is it. With the SCP-2137, the forensic ghost of Tupac Shakur, object class Thaumiel, musical SCP, made on the Volgun YouTube channel. Remember that if you want to check out the original video as well as the Volgun's YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. If you like my reaction, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos, and I will see you guys in the next video, which is going to be, hold on, it's another SCP. SCP-3973, would you like to reroll safe probability SCP on the Volgun YouTube channel? That's what I'm going to be reacting to next. You'll probably see it here in a card. Just click on it and then you can watch that reaction. And yeah, that's it. Bye-bye.